Part 8. After Rebirth, Boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, Beautiful. Chapter 71. Chapter 71, Yanjin Mountain. After dinner at the uncle's house, the father and son went home and had a good sleep on a familiar bed. On the second day, Yunsu got up a little late. She ran slowly along the village road. From time to time, villagers who got up early to do farm work greeted her. "Hey, Susu, why are you back? Where is your dad?" "Uncle Lin, my dad is still sleeping at home." "Come to Uncle Lin's house for dinner when you have time." "Okay, thank you, Uncle Lin." Aunt Yang from the east end of the village grabbed a handful of melon seeds and peanuts and forced them on her. People here have watched Yunsu grow up, and they all like this beautiful little girl. They thought that she was picked up by her biological parents and would be difficult to see in the future. Who would have thought that she would take her father to Lanzhou? After going to the city to enjoy the blessings, no one in Xiaoshui town would say anything about this little girl who values love and righteousness. Unlike Yun Daejin's unknown biological daughter, they have never even seen her. Yunsu came home from morning training. Yun Daejin had already made breakfast. There was no food at home, so he cooked sweet potato porridge. It was sweet and soft. After a bowl of porridge, his whole body warmed up. After breakfast, the three of them wandered around the village. Yun Ting went to play with Xiao Zhu as he wished. They also had lunch at the uncle's house of the Yun family. Yun Ting had a greedy expression, and Yunsu looked up. The tree was very big, and it bore a kind of small red wild fruit. Under the winter sunshine, the trees were in clusters, which looked particularly pleasing to the eye. "I got it, Dad. It's almost time, Susu, Xiaoting, get ready to go up the mountain," Yun Daejin urged after taking a rest after lunch. The mountain behind Xiaoshui town is called Yanjin Mountain. The name is very impressive, but it is actually not very high. It takes about an hour for an adult to climb to the top of the mountain. "Look, that tree is bearing fruit again. It's sour and sweet, and it's delicious. Unfortunately, Xiaozu and I can only pick the ones at the bottom every time, and there are many more on top." Yun Daejin looked at the siblings helplessly. "Be careful." Yunsu geared up, hugged the tree, kicked off her feet, and climbed up to a height of more than 1 meter in an instant. With her dexterity, she rushed to the waist of the tree in a few seconds, 3 or 4 meters above the ground, and could easily reach those round bodies. "Red fruit. Wow, sister, you are so awesome," Yunting cheered. Yun Daejin stood under the tree and looked frightened. He didn't expect her to climb so high. "Why are you climbing so high? Hold on to the branch next to the tree and come down slowly." The three of them went up the mountain. Even with the child Yunting, their speed was not slow at all. Yunting was very familiar with this mountain. He had been running all over the mountains and fields since he was a child. "Good. Wait, sister, go up and pick it for you." Yunsu took off her heavy coat, but luckily she wore light shoes for hiking today. "Dad, sister, there are fish in this small river ditch. Xiaozu and I used to come here to catch fish along the way," Yunting chirped to introduce the fish to the two of them, as if they were visiting their own back garden. Immediately, Yunsu picked the fruit and threw it down. "Xiaoting, pick it up quickly." Yunting was as happy as a busy little squirrel picking up fallen fruits under the tree. They had almost picked it, but seeing that Yunting could no longer reach it with both hands, Yunsu hugged the trunk and slid down, as nimble as a monkey. "Sister, try it." Yunting wiped the largest and reddest fruit and handed it to her mouth. "Yes, it's quite sweet, Dad, please try it." "Well, that's good. Your uncle and I used to pick this kind of fruit in the mountains when we were young." Yun Daejin looked nostalgic. The three of them walked around, and even though they were not slow, it still took them a while to reach their destination. On the west side of Yanjin Mountain, almost to the top of the mountain, looking around, rows of tombstones are neatly arranged. Many people in Xiaoshui town are buried here, looking at the villages below. They stopped in front of a tombstone. The words engraved on the stone were a little blurred after years of wind and rain. Yunsu took out a carving knife and carefully carved the blurred words clearly. Lin Fengqin's tomb, this is the tomb of Yunsu's adoptive mother. The woman in the photo on the tombstone has a gentle smile and a pair of beautiful and sad eyes. This was taken before her death. It is these two children that she cannot let go of. Yun Daijin stroked her photo and lit the incense candle and yellow paper he brought. Fengqin, we are back to see you, are you okay over there? In the light of the burning paper, the woman seemed to be standing in front of them. Yun Daijin talked to her about recent events, saying that Yunsu was getting more and more beautiful, her grades were good, and that Yunting was also making friends in Lanchange. When I made new friends, I also grew taller and became a big boy. There was deep longing in his tone. Xiaoting, come and bow to mother. Yunting bowed 3 times to the tombstone in a polite manner. When Lin Fengqin left, Yunting was still too young and had no memory of his mother's feelings. But when he was young, other children laughed at him for being a child without a mother. Ting would go up the mountain alone and come to chat with her. In his heart, his mother was his friend who could not speak. Yunsu remembered that when Lin Fengqin passed away, she had already remembered her mother's warm embrace and her calloused hands that were slightly rough but gentle and strong. She looked at Yun Daijin and said, Dad, I want to talk to Mom alone for a while. Okay. Yun Daijin pulled Yunting aside and let the mother and daughter spend some time alone. Yunsu stood in front of the tombstone with admiration in her eyes. Mom, I haven't seen you for a long time. For me, the last time I saw you was more than 40 years ago. You may not believe it. I am much older than you and Dad. I have made many mistakes and walked a long way before I stand in front of you again. To this day, the only person I can talk to is probably you. She found a place to sit down and slowly told Lin Fengqin in an unspeakable tone. Talk about the 10 years she spent in prison, talk about her difficult survival in the slums when she first arrived in the interstellar world, talk about how life in the interstellar is different from here, talk about the thrilling interstellar war, talk about her day-to-day scientific research life, and talk about her years past. When talking about her suicide, Yunsu paused and quickly promised that she would never do such a thing again. She now cherishes life and her current life more than anyone else. The daylight hours in winter are short, and the sun gradually sets in the west, casting orange-red on the sky. The entire Xiaoshui town is shrouded in twilight, and smoke rises from every household. Mom, did you know? There really is a planet where you can see 44 sunsets as mentioned in The Little Prince, but it's a pity that roses can't be grown there. The wind gradually picked up, and the wind carried the smoke from the burning yellow paper and floated to the sky. Yunsu looked into the distance, and the wind would definitely bring his thoughts to that inaccessible place. After getting their mood together, it was getting dark. Yun Daijin and the 3 of them walked down the mountain. On the tombstone, the woman still smiled softly and watched their retreating figures. End of this chapter. After Rebirth, Boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 72. Chapter 72. Girl Mue. Auntie, it's so troublesome for you to cook so many dishes. Yunsu took Cao Liun's hand and acted coquettishly. When the 3 of them went down the mountain and returned to Yunde country, the steaming meals were about to be served, and Cao Liun was busy in the kitchen. Yun Daijin and Yun Deguo went out for a walk before eating. The brothers hadn't had such a leisurely day for a long time. What are you talking about? After a long time, I came back. My eldest aunt wants you to eat more. Look at you, you are so thin. Cao Liun felt distressed when she looked at her thin wrists. Besides, there are other guests tonight. Who is it? Yunsu was curious. As for Hofan from the village chief's house, he helped your uncle repair the tractor before. He is studying in the capital and rarely comes home. Why shouldn't he treat someone to a meal? Okay, It turns out it wasn't cooked for me, but I'm still so moved. Yoon-soo pretended to be angry. You little girl, how can I miss you? Cao Liun didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Go and see how your sister Xiao is doing on the questions. I saw that she had been racking her brains all afternoon and couldn't write out the questions you assigned her at noon. It makes me anxious. Get the order. Brother Hofan. Why are you here? Yoon Xiao, who heard the conversation, rushed out and said in surprise. Although she said that, the expression on her face was different. Whether we want to help or not, we're just here for a meal. What's the big deal? Cao Liun greeted him into the house. Okay, I won't say anything anymore. Anyway, you just have to make up your mind. Yoon-soo didn't want to say too much, which would offend her. Hofan, come in quickly. Where are your parents? Why didn't you come together? Cao Liun was very enthusiastic. Yoon Xiao was speechless. Why do you look more like my mother than Ms. Cao? You can't have such an mature tone at such a young age. Didn't I tell you this afternoon? What did you hear? Cao Liun glared at her. Yoon-soo came to Yoon Xiao's room. She was holding her mobile phone with a smile on her face, and she faintly saw a photo. Okay, Mother Yoon. Yoon Xiao pushed her shoulders and went out. Brother Hofan, you don't recognize me anymore, Yoon-soo. Isn't that right? After a woman's 18th birthday, she becomes more and more beautiful. Cao Liun's tone was very proud, and Yoon-soo was like her daughter. Yoon is a common surname in Xiashui town. Almost half of the people in Xiashui town have the surname Yoon. Yoon Hofan is the youngest son of the village chief. He was admitted to the Huaguo University of Science and Technology 4 years ago. He is also the first student in Xiashui town to be admitted to a key university. There is no one in this area who doesn't know him, and Yoon-soo would have heard of his various deeds before. Oh, my mom, you scared me to death. Are you a cat? You don't make any sound when you walk. Yoon Xiao hurriedly turned off her phone and almost fell to the ground. She patted her rapidly beating heart. She was so scared. This is it. Yoon Hofan looked at Yoon-soo and said hesitantly, why does this girl look so familiar? As soon as Yoon-soo walked out, there were voices at the door, and the guests were coming. You are obviously too absorbed, Sister Xiao, what are you doing? It can't be. Yoon-soo looked narrow. What are you thinking? How is it possible? Yoon-soo. You've grown so big, I really don't dare to recognize you. Yoon Hofan looked surprised. In his memory, Yoon-soo was still a little sister, but now she has become a big girl. A tall and thin young man, with a smooth and fair appearance and a shy smile, said, my parents have gone to visit relatives, and my aunt told me not to be so polite, so I just wanted to do a small favor. Okay, I'll shut up and you can read the topic again. I'm going out first. Auntie said there are still guests coming. Hey. Yoon Xiao was about to cry but had no tears. It's not Susu's fault. The questions were so difficult that my head was turned into a mess. She finally understood the difference between mortals and geniuses, and her grades were not bad, but Yoon-soo still had no idea about the questions she asked. What's the question? Do you want me to help you? Yoon Hofan asked curiously. Really? Yoon Xiao's eyes lit up. Wait a minute. She ran back to the room to get the notebook. This is it? Yoon Hofan took it and looked at it and was stunned. He originally thought it was just an ordinary high school question, but it seemed not that simple. Xiao, do you think this is a question Yoon-soo asked you? Yes. This question is a bit difficult. It may take a while to figure it out. Yoon Hofan scratched his head, a little embarrassed, and said to show her, but he was still stumped. Yoon Xiao waved her hands nonchalantly. It's okay, this question is too perverted. Yoon Hofan is also a study fanatic, and his hands were itchy when he saw this question. Anyway, before eating, he took a pen and paper and started to calculate. 20 minutes later, Yoon Ho Fan put down his pen, took a long breath, and finally figured it out. This question is really great, Yoon Soo, did you really solve it by yourself? The more you continue to work on it, the more you will discover the subtleties of this question. It is like a mess, which seems awkward and difficult to understand, but as long as you find the thread, everything will be easily solved. Yoon Soo asked this question without thinking that Yoon Xiao could solve it. He just wanted to see her mathematical thinking. Yoon Ho Fan remembered that Yoon Soo was only 16 or 17 years old, probably still in the first grade of high school. Did she really ask questions of this level? Of course, our Susu is the gold medal winner in the National Olympiad Mathematics competition. Yoon Xiao sounded proud, as if she was the winner. Gold medal in the National Olympiad Mathematics competition? Yoon Ho Fan's eyes widened, right? His grades are good, but they are at an overall level. He also participated in mathematics competitions in high school, but unfortunately he stopped at the provincial competition. Naturally, he knows how difficult mathematics competitions are. Not to mention that to win the gold medal, talent and hard work are indispensable. But he was confused. Yoon Soo should also have gone to junior high school in the town, right? It's not that he looks down on it, but is the junior high school in the town capable of teaching students like Yoon Soo? It seems that I am just doing my own thing. Yoon Ho Fan smiled ashamedly. No way, Yoon Xiao refused, brother Ho Fan is also great. Please tell me this question quickly. Yoon Ho Fan showed a smile and said, okay. The two of them came together, one spoke patiently and the other listened carefully. Yoon Soo stood aside, looking at the two people, and narrowed his eyes. Something was wrong. These two people? Yoon Soo saw it and said nothing. It is normal for a young girl to admire her in her heart. There is no need to point it out. Xiao, Susu, get ready to eat, Cao Liun shouted from the kitchen. I'm coming. Yoon Xiao put away her books and went into the kitchen with Yoon Soo to serve food. Why haven't your dad and the others come back yet? It's already this time, Cao Liun complained. I'm not back, why are you shouting? When Cao arrived, the two brothers Yoon Daguo came back. Then serve it quickly. Cao Liun greeted everyone warmly and kept picking up food. That's enough, Auntie Yoon Ho Fan's bowl was piled up into a small mountain, and it couldn't be filled anymore. Yoon Ho Fan has been a child of other families since he was a child. All his parents dislike him, and Cao Liun is no exception. Ho Fan, how old are you this year? It's my senior year, uncle. Yoon Daguo took a puff of dry cigarette and said, don't you have to prepare to find a job? Yoon Ho Fan, yes. Are you going to stay in the capital? Yoon Soo glanced at Yoon Xiao. She clenched her chopsticks tightly. Fortunately, everyone was paying attention now. Probably not. Yoon Ho Fan said his plan, I may go to Lanchinge to develop. Lanchinge, everyone stopped their chopsticks and looked at him. I have a senior in the same department, and I have a pretty good relationship with him. He is currently working in a game development company in Lanchinge, and his prospects are pretty good. I am also going to give it a try. Lanchinge? Game development? Yoon Soo raised his eyes. A person who makes games. Is it reliable? Yoon Daguo didn't understand either. He was a little skeptical when he heard the word game. Yoon Ho Fan nodded, it's pretty good, uncle. I heard that the company cooperates with Junyu Group and has great development prospects. Junyu Group? That's incredible, Yoon Daejin was also shocked. Although they didn't know what this job was like, it was not easy to cooperate with a behemoth like Junyu Group. Then you have to take good care of it, Yoon Daguo warned kindly. This other family's child is just trying to live up to his expectations. Cao Liun glanced at Yoon Xiao with hatred. Yoon Xiao hurriedly lowered her head to eat, avoiding his sight. The company that cooperates with Junyu Group in game development, isn't this Yunchinge? Department of Computer Science, University of Science and Technology. Then Hofan can often come to our house to play in Lanchinge, Yunda said. Huh, Yun Hofan didn't know why. Your uncle Dajan and his family have moved to Lanchinge, Yun Daguo said with a smile. Yun Hofan said in surprise, really? That's a coincidence. In recent years, life in Xiaoshui town has been much better than when he moved to the city. He has been studying outside and rarely comes back. He doesn't know what happened to Yunsu's family and just thinks it is an ordinary move. Yunsu smiled and said nothing, they would meet again soon. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After Rebirth, Boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 73. Chapter 73 Harmony Rose. The days in Xiaoshui town are leisurely and comfortable. Yunsu's daily routine is to go out for a walk, play with cats and dogs, take Yunting up mountains and rivers, and finally supervise Yun Xiao's studies. Although Yun Xiao was often abused by Yunsu until she cried for her father, her gains were not small. With Yunsu's help, she sorted out the key and difficult points in all current subjects. Based on her own situation, Yunsu also helped her find a learning method that suited her. If she persisted in this way, it would not be difficult to get into a better university. Cao Liun was so grateful to Yunsu that when Yunsu and the others were about to set off back to Lanchinge, Cao Liun packed a lot of large and small bags with all kinds of food and supplies for them to take away. Auntie, it's okay, we can't take her away. Yunsu quickly stopped her. That's not possible, everything is expensive in the city, and it's not as clean and safe as what we eat in the countryside. You must bring it with you, otherwise I will get angry. Yunsu had no choice. With so many things, she would definitely not be able to take the bus back, so she could only call a chartered car to go back to Lanchinge. Looking at Yun Dajan, Yunsu thought thoughtfully. Is it time for the family to buy a car? Otherwise it will not be very convenient to go anywhere. Yun Dajan drove a truck when he was learning to cook in his early years, and he had a driver's license. The three of the Yun family set out on their way back to Lanchinge. It was already evening when they arrived, and the house was deserted. Suddenly someone came back and it seemed like they were injected with vitality. Qing Lian and her daughter have already found a house and moved out. It is a community with good security, and it is not easy for Fang Qizi to harass them. The girl almost fell over because she was so angry that she dared to cut randomly even though she didn't know anything. It's true that the ignorant are fearless. After getting one, Yunsu aimed at the next one. How expensive are they? Yunsu asked without understanding. She really had no research on flowers. Yunsu smiled helplessly and could only coax her, how could it be? I miss you. Aren't I afraid that there will be too many people in front of you and you won't be able to take care of me? I just want to be alone with you, Grandma. Can't we get along? Yunsu turned around and saw a girl in a white princess dress staring at her through the glass of the greenhouse with a look of shock and anger. Grandma Lian handed her the scissors and patted her hand, it's okay. Just cut whichever one looks good. Yunsu went to Lian's house with the gifts she picked. When she arrived, Lian's grandma was alone at home watching TV. Lian's grandma was very happy. Okay, why not? These few words made old Mrs. Lian very happy. Then Grandma will make you flower cakes today, okay? Lian Zilla and the others were at work. Lian's grandfather went out to play chess with friends, and Lian Yu didn't know where to go to play. She was feeling lonely. Even the old lady likes orchids, and even the lady from the west loves roses, but they are all more delicate varieties that require careful handling. Who are you? Who allowed you to cut flowers? Do you know how precious these flowers are? The girl was trembling with anger, and the bow on her head dangled. Although the flower house is not big, the flowers inside are blooming extremely well, regardless of the climate, and they are in full bloom in clusters, which makes people unable to take their eyes away. Girl Yoon, I haven't seen you for a while, what's wrong? You don't come to see me, an old woman, either. Even though she was happy, she deliberately teased her with a straight face. Good. Yoon-soo was in a dilemma. What flowers should I cut? She was a kitchen idiot and had no idea what kind of flowers were needed to make flower cakes. Ah, what are you doing? A sharp voice interrupted her movements. After so many days of rest, Yoon Daejin couldn't stay idle anymore. Yash was open for business again, and the diners around him who had been looking forward to it every day were finally waiting. Old Mrs. Lian likes to be clean, and it's the new year. She only has 2 ants left to cook and clean. Walking through a secluded corridor, the Lian family's flower house is behind the house. Then take a pair of scissors to the flower room and cut 2 flowers for me. Yoon-soo walked around with the scissors several times, but she couldn't decide which one to cut, so she could only cut any one at random. There was a rose next to it. The petals of the rose were light yellow cream color. She cut it casually. Lifting her hand, there was a crisp click sound, and the rose fell onto Yoon-soo's hand. Okay, I'll help you. Harmony Rose, originated from country R, is one of the 10 most expensive rose varieties in the world. It is very rare, and you actually cut it like this. The girl looked at the flower with distress. It was such a pity. If her aunt knew about it, she would definitely be heartbroken to death. Yoon-soo looked at the flowers in his hand. Are they so expensive? Do you still want to make flower cakes? No, you have to tell me clearly today, you flower picker. The girl was so angry that she looked like a puffer fish. Yoon-soo can't laugh or cry. Is he a flower picker? Has this girl watched too many martial arts dramas? Susu, where are you? It was Grandma Lian's voice. Yoon-soo never went back, so she came looking for her. Grandma Lian, I'm here, Yoon-soo replied hurriedly. The old lady Lian came over, looked at the girl, and asked, Hey, Xiaotong, when did you come? The girl seemed to have a backbone. Grandma, I just came in from the side door. You came just in time. There is a thief here who cut the flowers in the greenhouse. What are you talking about? Thief and thief, how unpleasant it sounds. I asked Yoon Yeto to cut this. Even the old lady didn't like hearing this, and she put away the smile on her face. The girl obviously didn't expect that it was the old lady's instruction. She was speechless for a moment, but, that is Aunt's favorite flower. If she knew. Aunt. Is this girl Mrs. Lian's niece? So what if you know? Even the old lady looked down completely. It's just a flower. No matter how precious it is, it's just a flower. There are so many flowers in the flower house, so what's the point of cutting off just 1 or 2? Grandma Lian, I really didn't know this flower was so expensive. I'm sorry. Yoon-soo felt a little sorry. How about I compensate Aunt Tan? Yoon-soo met Lian Zile's wife, whose surname was Tan, and she was a very gentle and kind-hearted woman. She really felt sorry for cutting off someone else's favorites. Can you afford to pay? This one costs hundreds of thousands. Seeing Yoon-soo wearing simple clothes and unable to see the brand, the girl couldn't help but taunt her. Xiaotong, shut up. This is none of your business. Even the old lady was really angry. Xiaotong looked at Grandma Lian's face and didn't dare to say anything more. She felt aggrieved. Grandma Lian loved her so much before, but why did she change as soon as this girl appeared? Turning his head to face Yoon-soo with a smile, he said, Susu, let's go, Grandma will make flower cakes for you. Flower cake? Xiaotong felt dizzy. They were going to use these flowers worth hundreds of thousands to make flower cakes? Isn't this a waste of natural resources? Xiaotong dared not speak out in anger, so he could only follow the two of them in frustration. This is to boil the rose sauce before, add cooked glutinous rice flour and chopped cooked peanuts, mix well and put it in the refrigerator. Then let's make the dough now. Use this low gluten flour, add fine sugar and lard, this is the most important point, then pour hot water and knead it into a ball. The risen dough is evenly divided into small portions, rolled into an oval shape, and then the refrigerated fillings are wrapped in it. After wrapping, make a few small holes to dissipate heat, then put it in the oven and bake it for about half an hour. The flour you cut will be torn into pieces and sprinkled on it later. Grandma Lian and Yunsu were busy in the kitchen, and they said they were together, but Yunsu stood aside and watched. He Jitong sat on the sofa, feeling suffocated in his heart when he saw them acting in harmony with their ancestors and grandchildren. Half an hour later, the flour cakes were freshly baked. Each one was plump and round, with a fragrant floral fragrance. They looked soft and delicious. Even the old lady and Yunsu couldn't wait to taste them. Well, good. He Shuotong moved his nose and felt guilty. The old lady Lian asked Yunsu to eat first, and she would go to the kitchen to bake some and take them back later. What is it that smells so good? A woman's gentle voice came from the door. He Shuotong, who was resisting hunger, suddenly stood up and rushed forward. Auntie, you are finally back. Xiaotong, why are you here? It was Tan Kanyin, Lian Zila's wife, who came back. I came to play with brother Au, but he is not at home. That's no coincidence. Lian Yu and Qin Chen went to the race course. Tan Kanyin had no children, so he loved his sister's daughter very much and treated her as his own. He Shuotong also often visited Yun's house. Has brother Qin Chen returned to Lanchinj? He Shuotong's eyes were bright. Well, I just came back from the capital, and the two of them went out to have fun again. Tan Kanyin was helpless. Qin Chen is returning to the capital to celebrate the new year as the head of the Qin family. No matter what happens privately, everyone in the Qin family must be present during the new year and celebrate the new year in peace and harmony. This is what Mr. Qin has said, and no one dares to disobey it. Tan Kanyin put on her shoes and came in. Tan Auntie Yunsu greeted her. Susu, are you here too? Why didn't you tell me in advance? There is no one at home today, Tan Kanyin said in surprise. Although she had only met Yunsu once, she also liked this little girl, not to mention her. I am still kind to the Lian family. Susu. Why does Aunt scream so affectionately? Alarm bells rang in He Shuotong's heart. Who is this girl? Why do you look so familiar with your family? Grandma Lian made flour cakes, do you want to try them? Yunsu handed her the plate with flour cakes. Flour cake, Tan Kanyin took it doubtfully. This is it? Why do the light yellow embellishments on the cake look familiar? Auntie, these are the harmonious roses you planted in the flower room. This lady cut them to make flour cakes. He Shuotong finally found the opportunity. Harmony, Tan Kanyin's eyes widened, and his voice was unusually high. Sorry, Aunt Tan, I cut it. Please give me your contact information and I will buy you one in any case. She did cut the flour. This kind of flour must be purchased through special channels and is not available on the market. I asked her to cut it. What's wrong? If you can't bear it, I'll buy it for you again. The old lady Lian came out of the kitchen. She was afraid that her daughter-in-law would blame Yunsu. Mom, what are you talking about? How could I let you buy it for me? It's just a flour, just cut it. I'll also try the flour cake you made. Tan Kanyin calmed down after being surprised. Although she felt distressed when the flour was cut, it was nothing compared to what Yunsu had done for the Lian family. Although Lianzila was betrayed by someone close to him last time, although he didn't tell her in detail, he did mention it in a subtle way. Yunsu was a big help, and even though he was afraid of talking about Kanyin, he was also full of feelings for Yunsu. Gratitude. He Tongtong was shocked. Harmony roses were her aunt's favorite flower. Why did her aunt react like this? Shouldn't it? End of this chapter. After Rebirth, boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 74. Chapter 74. Can you get pregnant? Well, it tastes good, mom. Your skills are getting better and better now. Tan Kanyin took a bite of the flour cake and praised it. It was soft and waxy in the mouth and full of floral fragrance. He Shuotong finally couldn't hold it back and tasted one. It was so delicious. Susu, Xiaotong has the temper of a child. If she says something wrong, don't mind. Tan Kanyin knew her niece, and she must have said something offensive when she saw Yunsu cutting off her flowers. No, talking about auntie, I did it wrong in the first place. There's nothing wrong, don't take it to heart. Tan Kanyin patted her hand and smiled gently. Yunsu looked at her hand and suddenly said, in that case, let me check your pulse, auntie. Diagnose the pulse. Tan Kanyin was stunned. Why did he suddenly say this? Is there anything wrong with me? She knew that Yunsu was the doctor of the child in the Ling family. She heard that Linja could now walk. There was no doubt about Yunsu's medical skills, so she felt a little nervous when Yunsu suddenly said this. Last time Yunsu saw that there were many people in Tan Kanyin, she didn't look carefully. Now it seems that her face is a bit too pale. How is it? 2 minutes later, Yunsu's face became a little serious, and Tan Kanyin asked cautiously with her heart raised. Now they are playing the role of doctor and patient, there is nothing bad to say. Looking at the nervous expressions of several people, Yunsu continued, to put it simply, the palace is cold. Aunt Tan's condition is more serious, and it will be more difficult to have children. Looking at her earnest eyes, Yunsu gave her an affirmative answer, it can be cured, no trouble. Wait a minute, you're a doctor. He Shuotong felt like his brain was running out. How old are you? However, she still answered obediently, yes, that's pretty much it. As soon as these words came out, the three of them were silent. Tan Kanyin turned her head away to hide the tears in her eyes. She had been married into the Lian family for more than 10 years, but she had never been pregnant with a child. Over the years, she had also seen large and small children. The doctor took countless medicines, but to no avail. He Shuotong's eyes widened. She was right. Could it be that a blind cat bumped into a dead mouse? No, she didn't say her aunt was a dead rat. What? It's okay, auntie, I just showed it to you casually and treated it as compensation for you. Yunsu didn't say anything about his guess. The atmosphere suddenly became tense, but Yunsu broke the atmosphere with a smile, although it is quite serious, I didn't say it can't be cured. Several people said in unison. Tan Kanyin suddenly turned his head and looked at Yunsu. Susu, what do you mean? What do you mean? He Shuotong asked anxiously first. She had always been close to Tan Kanyin, like mother and daughter. Now that she heard that she had a physical problem, she couldn't care about anything else. Yunsu asked Tan Kanyin to sit down relaxedly, put a folded thick handkerchief on her wrist joint to serve as a wrist pillow, and then put his hand on her wrist, index finger, middle finger, and ring finger, and asked for pulse with 3 fingers. Auntie Tan, do you have low menstrual flow, dark color, and blood clots during menstruation? Also, you have extremely painful menstruation every time, and you have even stopped menstruating after thinking for a while. Yunsu spoke. He Shuotong curled his lips while pretending to be like that. The one named Yunsu should be about the same age as her, right? Is he a doctor? Xiaotong, don't talk yet. Let Susu show your aunt first. Even the old lady was a little nervous. Is there anything wrong with her daughter-in-law's health? What did you say? This is a symptom of poor blood stasis, qi stagnation, and insufficient kidney yang. Although Lianzilla comforted her that it didn't matter if she didn't have children, every time she saw the closeness between Lianzilla and Lianyu, she would think of how great it would be if they had a child of their own. Tan Kanyin blushed. Why did Susu ask this? Even though the 3 people present were all women, she was still a little embarrassed. Really? Real. That's great, that's great. Mrs. Lian was so excited that she twirled the prayer beads she carried with her and clasped her hands together. It's really a blessing from God. They had never thought of letting Yunsu take a look before. After all, Yunsu's treatment of Linju was in the field of surgery, while Tan Kanyan's treatment was in the category of gynecology. Then how to treat it? He Shutong didn't care whether Yunsu was a quack doctor or not. Since her aunt and grandma believed in her, she believed in her too and could give it a try. Yunsu asked her aunt to find paper and pen, and scribbled down a prescription. Take this prescription to get the medicine, boil it in 3 bowls of water and drink it. 1 prescription will last for 1 month, and a maximum of 3 prescriptions will do conditioned well. The old lady Lian took it and put it away herself. Can I get pregnant if I take good care of myself? Tan Kanyan was most concerned about this. Yunsu nodded, you can get pregnant normally, don't worry, Auntie Tan. That's great. Tan Kanyan covered her face, tears pouring out uncontrollably. Even the old lady patted her back comfortingly. Although no one had ever said anything, she knew that her daughter-in-law had kept things in her heart all these years and was not feeling well. Aunt, you should be happy. He Shutong was also sincerely happy. Of course I'm happy, I don't even know what to say. Susu, I really don't know how to thank you. You really helped me, we even have so many families. Tan Kanyan was almost incoherent. Talking about auntie, we don't talk about this between us. Okay, if you don't say this, you'll be out of touch. Tan Kanyan wiped her tears and collected her emotions. I'll go ask the kitchen to cook some more food. I'll call your uncle back so we can have a meal together. Yes, it's time to call back. There's also Xiao Yu and a Cheng. You call them all and call them back. I'll go to the kitchen and have a look. Even the old lady was so happy that she forgot about it. Only when her daughter-in-law reminded her did she come to her senses. Good. Tan Kanyan took out her mobile phone and called Lianzila. Kanyan, what's wrong? Lianzila was a little surprised. During the new year, their government department was busier than usual, and his family rarely called to disturb him, so there must be something wrong when he called at this time. Just asking if you can come back for dinner today. Susu is here. Susu, Lianzila was surprised for a moment, and then a little embarrassed, but I have to go to the western suburbs to take a look later. Susu just checked my pulse. Diagnose the pulse. Lianzila's tone changed and he became anxious. What's wrong with you? Tan Kanyan still feels like she's dreaming when she talks about it now. It's good news. Susu said that I can take care of my body, I can get pregnant, and we can have a baby. Are you serious? Lianzila stood up uncomfortably. Secretary Lu, who was also in the office, was a little panicked. Something big had happened. A person like the secretary who didn't change his face even when the mountain was about to collapse couldn't hold back. Just wait, I'll be right back. Lianzila packed his things and prepared to go home. Xiao Lu, my trip to the western suburbs will be scheduled for tomorrow. I have something to do and I have to go home first. Okay, secretary, I'll make arrangements right away. Secretary Lu replied quickly. The secretary's face was full of joy, which seemed to be something good, but he knew what to ask and what not to ask. Xiao Wang, drive faster. Lian 11 came to urge the driver. Xiao Wang. No, Secretary. Xiao Wang said sternly, this is already the fastest speed allowed. For places like Lianzila, the speed of travel is strictly regulated to reduce the probability of traffic accidents. With a feeling of uneasiness, Zilla didn't even have time to change his shoes when he got home, so he went directly to Yunsu to ask for confirmation. Susu, is everything you said about Aunt just now true? It's true, Uncle Lian, I won't say anything that I'm not sure about. Yunsu answered them tirelessly. She understood the mood of the patient's family. Great, really great, Susu, Uncle Lian owes you one more time. Lianzila was overjoyed. Although he and Tan Kanyin had a good relationship over the years, she always felt that she owed him because of the child. No matter what he said, she still kept it in her heart, like an unresolved stone. Don't talk about this. The old lady Lian patted her son on the shoulder. Okay, words of gratitude are too pale, and Lian Zile knows this well. After a while, Mr. Yun, who heard the news, also came back from playing chess. Looking at his son, who could not hide his excitement, he was also in a happy mood and immediately threatened to have a drink with his son. Even the old man has high blood pressure, and he would not be allowed to drink under normal circumstances, but today there is a big event and the situation is special. Even grandma acquiesces that he can drink a little, and Lian Zile also nodded, not to displease the old man. Everyone is here, why haven't Xiao and Akin come back yet? I'll call them again. Tan Kanyin picked up the phone. No need to fight, I'm back. A clear boy's voice sounded, full of vitality. Lian Yu and Qin Cheng walked in, and Qin Cheng greeted them politely, Grandma Lian, Uncle Lian, and Aunt Tan. Sister Yun, long time no see. Lian Yu pretended to pounce on her with an exaggerated expression. Yun Su hid behind him. Not long ago, I remember I saw you last time at the amusement park when you were so dizzy from vomiting. Lian Yu's expression froze, and he retracted his hand angrily. Please don't mention it. Brother Au, Brother Akin, he Shuotong greeted the two of them cheerfully. Why is this ancestor here? Seeing the girl's sweet smile, Lian Yu regretted a little and shouldn't have come back. Isn't it time to eat? Everyone, go and sit down quickly. He quickly called everyone to sit down, avoiding He Shuotong's eyes. The whole family walked to the dining room and sat down. End of this chapter. After Rebirth, Boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 75. Chapter 75. God of War Saint Yen. What, Lian Yu almost accidentally broke the bowl. I'm going to be a brother. Tan Kanyin only called him to ask him to go home for dinner and did not mention Yun Su checking her pulse. After sitting at the table, Lian Yuki heard about this and was so happy that he had already thought about what he should do to her. My sister bought a nice little skirt. He subconsciously ruled out the possibility that his aunt would give birth to a younger brother. Everyone was speechless for a while. Although everyone was looking forward to it, it couldn't be so fast. It's still early. We need to take good care of ourselves first. Tan Kanyin also smiled when she thought about it. It has to be me, Sister Yun, Lian Yu said with emotion. You still have some abilities, He Xuantong praised Yun Su awkwardly. Yun Su laughed. This little girl is actually quite cute. Brother Au, Brother Akin, would you like to go to the race course for fun today? He Xuotong asked. It's a race course. Why don't we just ride horses? That's it, Lian Yu answered vaguely. Don't think he doesn't know. This little girl definitely wants him to take her to play. Sure enough, He Tongtong's next words were, I haven't been to the race course yet. Brother Au, can I go and play with you? She also secretly glanced at Qin Cheng, who was eating silently. He Shuotong became happy again. Sure enough, her aunt still loved her. There is no horse for you to ride. When she arrived at the race course, Lian Yu, Qin Cheng, and He Tongtong were waiting for her. Lian Yu was impatient with her questions. When he saw Yun Su, he felt like he had seen a savior, and he immediately rushed to greet her. Au brother said she was too short. He Xuotong pouted in grievance. Who wants to teach you? Lian Yu was speechless, but he had to take care of her. I want to go to, Yun Su suddenly said, feeling like he was riding a horse for a long time. On the second day, Yun Su made an appointment with Lian Yu and Qin Cheng to go to the race course. It was rare for her to wear light clothes in winter and she went out. Lian Yu looked at the height between her and the horse and was happy. It really suits you, ha ha ha. What kind of race course is a girl going to? You don't know how to ride a horse. What are you going to do? Feed it grass, Lian Yu quickly persuaded her, trying to dispel her idea. This little red horse is so cute. He Shuotong took a fancy to a maroon pony and rushed up to it. After dinner, Yunsu told Tan Kanyan some things to pay attention to, and it was inconvenient to bother her anymore, so she went home with Grandma Lian's love brand flour cake. Then teach me how to ride. He looked at him with eager eyes. I don't know how to learn, but I can learn. I'm very smart. He Shutong was full of confidence. Qin Cheng glanced at him. He was teaching others his half-baked skills. No, I know how to ride. Yunsu waved his hand. Even in the interstellar era where technology is very advanced, horse racing is a very popular sport for the aristocracy, and Yunsu has also practiced equestrian hard. This race course is located in the suburbs, far away from the city. It has invested a huge amount of money to build and occupies a large area. In addition to the horses kept here by wealthy people, there are also many other valuable breeds, which are concentrated in the stables. The modern stables are neatly planned, spacious and bright. Sister Yun, can you ride a horse? Lian Yu was stunned. He originally thought that there was something that Yunsu couldn't do, and he could live with the teacher's addiction, but who would have thought that Yunsu could even ride a horse? Isn't this true? A little outrageous. Brother Au, teach me. I don't know how to ride a horse. Looking at Lian Yu's depressed expression, He Jitong said quickly. Sister Yun, you're here now. Come on, I'll take you to pick a horse and teach you how to ride it later. Let's go, let's choose a horse first. Lian Yu was dumbfounded. When his aunt spoke, how could he dare to refuse? He could only agree without tears. Wow, so many horses, He Shuotong exclaimed. This was her first time at the race course. In fact, she didn't like riding horses, she just wanted to play with Lian Yu and the others. But now I see the elegant, strong, and breathing horses, and I feel interested and eager to try. As soon as Yunsu said he wanted to go, Tan Kanyan immediately answered, then Xiao and Aiken will take Susu and Xiaotong to play. The race course is guarded and it is not dangerous. Lian Yu laughed mercilessly, this is just a child's horse. You can ride it with confidence, it won't hurt you, ha 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 ha. Humph. Brother Aiken, come and teach me. Okay. After being scolded several times by Lian Yu, He Xiaotong ignored him and looked at Qin Cheng. Susu, let's go see other horses. Qin Cheng ignored her and said to Yunsu. Okay, this kind of pony looks cute, but it's not Yunsu's cup of tea. He Shuotong looked at the little red horse and reluctantly gave up, then I'll take another look. A few people continued to walk forward. Lian Yu and Qin Cheng were regular visitors here, and the staff specially accompanied them to explain along the way. This is a quarter horse from country M. It has a wide range of uses and can be used for horse racing, but it is only suitable for short distance races and is more dangerous. This kind of horse is called a kuris horse. It was first discovered in Helen. It has an elegant shape and is very smart and strong. Many circus performances use this kind of horse. The Appaloosa, beloved by equestrian riders around the world, is extremely popular, has strong survivability, and has low environmental requirements. This is a Clydesdale horse, they are mainly. The staff introduced it as they walked. He Shuotong was immediately attracted by this beautiful chestnut-colored horse with white spots. He forgot about the short red horse and asked, what's its name? His name is Hughes. This kind of horse is relatively docile and likes its owner very much. It is also suitable for girls to ride, the staff member said, touching Hughes's head through the fence, and the horse rubbed meekly on his hand. Come on. I've decided, I want to practice Shusi, He Shutong said excitedly. Okay, Miss He, we will bring Hughes out later. Susu, do you have a favorite horse? Qin Cheng asked Yunsu. Yunsu looked at the innermost room of the stable, which was wider than the adjacent compartments, and asked the staff, what kind of horse is there? Can you go and have a look? The staff hesitated for a moment and then said, Yes, it's just that the horse has a strong personality and I'm afraid it will shock you. It's okay, let's go and have a look. A few people walked to the end. In the spacious compartment, a pure black horse with smooth fur stood there. It had a long neck, a slender body, and clear and bright eyes. It looked at them condescendingly. It was incompatible with the temperament of other horses. This horse is a purebred horse and is known as the best horseback riding horse in the world. The staff member's tone was extremely proud. He could confidently say that there are not many such purebred horses in China, let alone Lanchange. Yunsu fell in love with this horse almost at first sight. It was beautiful and powerful. In the past, she had a horse that was very similar to this one. It was as pure black as ink, so she named it Moyu, one person and one horse. She was like a friend, but it's a pity that we can't see each other now. What's its name? Yunsu asked. Xin Tian. This name is quite domineering. Yunsu smiled. The god of war Xin Tian has a fierce personality, so it matches his name. She agreed immediately. I want it. This. The staff member was a little embarrassed. Ms. Yun, why don't you take another look? This horse has a really bad temper. It almost doesn't let anyone ride it. This is our best tame horse. There's nothing I can do about it, I'm afraid I might hurt you accidentally. Qin Cheng also advised her, how about we take another look? Animals like horses are uncontrollable, and he was a little worried. Yes, Sister Yun, how about I give you my horse to ride? That's not bad. If something happens to Yunsu at this race course, his whole family will skin him. He and Qin both have horses at this horse farm, and they also know Xingtian's horse. So far, he has never seen anyone able to ride Xin Tian. It's okay, I'll be responsible for the consequences, Yunsu said nonchalantly, then looked at the staff. Can I ride? Seeing Yunsu's insistence, the staff could only answer truthfully, yes, yes, but our race course has regulations. All guests who want to challenge Qi Xin Tian must sign a guarantee agreement. If there are any consequences, our race course will not bear any responsibility. This must be made clear. There were customers who also took a fancy to Xin Tian before. Although they also tried to dissuade them, the guests still insisted on it. As a result, Xin Tian showed his power. He fell from his horse and was injured. He leaned on it without mercy. Their race course. From then on, it was stipulated that if you want to ride Xin Tian, you must sign an agreement. Yes, I'll sign. Yunsu nodded in agreement. Knowing Yunsu's temper, she would not do anything uncertain, so Lian Yu and Qin Cheng stopped trying to persuade her. Bring out our horses, by the way, Lian Yu warned. Okay, let's get ready right away. When the staff went to prepare, several people went to change into riding clothes. There was a store inside the race course. Yunsu wanted to buy a set, but Lian Yu held her back. My aunt prepared it for you yesterday and put it in the dressing room. Here is the key. He looked at He Xuantong again and handed out a key. Here, this is yours. Thank you, brother Au, I knew you and aunt were good to me. He Xuantong instantly forgot the unpleasantness just now. Thank you. Yunsu shook the key and was not polite to him. The four of them went to change clothes separately. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After Rebirth, boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 76. Chapter 76. A critical moment. No, what does your race course mean? Isn't this horse meant for people to ride on? Why can't I choose this horse? There were not many people at the race course today. There was only the sound of galloping horse hooves, but there was a rough male voice yelling at the horse stable, which was disturbing. The staff lowered their heads and kept apologizing, and explained to the guest, I'm sorry, Mr. He, Xin Tian has already had a customer make a reservation today, why don't you look at the other horses? We raised your red rabbit very well, don't want to go take a look? No, I have to ride it today. The man named He Xiao pointed at Xin Tian with strong interest in his eyes. I want to see who in Lancheng dares to rob me. He was wearing extremely professional riding equipment and was obviously well prepared. Although his red rabbit is good, it has been trained and matured by him. Now he wants to try a new taste. Xin Tian is also famous in the horse racing world in Lancheng. He is here today just for Xin Tian. If he can conquer it, He Yuanyang will also rise to fame. I'm really sorry, Mr. He, that guest has already signed the agreement. What agreement? I don't care, I have to get it done today. It's not that He Yuanyang didn't know about the horse racing agreement at this race course, it was just a piece of paper in his mind. Hey, who am I supposed to be? Isn't this He Xiao? Who are you competing with during the Chinese New Year? A sinister voice sounded. King Gui stiffened. Why is this ancestor here? He could only force out a smile and said, Sister Yun, what a coincidence, what a coincidence. After understanding Qing Wei's meaning, He Yuanyang took a breath. How dare he dare to mess with someone that Qing Wei didn't dare to offend? He had no choice but to smile and said, since it was booked by the company commander's friend, I won't take advantage of him. Qin Chang? Are there any families named Qin in Lancheng's upper class? He Yuanyang asked King Gui with his eyes. I have eyes to see. Lian Yu looked at the sky. It's not me, it's my friend. What? You still insist on having this one, Lian Yu said with a half smile. It would be easy to steal his horse. But if he dares to steal Sister Yun's horse, I'm really tired of living. I'm worried that Sister Yun will ride it. It is one thing, but it is another thing to be robbed by others and unable to ride. Who is this little girl? Why do Lian Yu and Qing Wei call her sister? He Yuanyang did not go to the Yun family's banquet at that time and did not know Yun Su. Yun Su couldn't bear to look at these two living treasures, so he looked at He Yuanyang and the two of them. Hey, we are acquaintances. Qin Cheng didn't answer him, and his eyes moved to the person next to He Yuanyang. The man who was playing with his mobile phone with his head down without interest, felt the gaze on him, stood up straight, and was shocked. Qin Cheng, why are you here? Tan Kaiyan chose the riding attire herself. She felt that although Yunsu was mature in mind, she was still a girl in her teens, so she should wear bright colors to look festive. He Yuanyang and King Gui were about to leave, when Yunsu and He Jitong came out. What nonsense are you talking about, King Gui? Is this race course owned by your family? We want to be here. Young Master Lian Yu rolled his eyes, they were really enemies. Sister Yun, have you changed? Lian Yu immediately put away his arrogant expression, and his chivalrous temperament instantly disappeared, like a rich young master who ran away from home and wandered around the world. You want this horse? Sorry, I'll decide first. Yunsu had actually heard their conversation. What's the fuss about? Yunsu looked dashing in a red riding suit. She rarely wore such a bright color, and it made her whole body as white as jade. King Gui shook his head slightly and made a mouth gesture, don't mess with me. Last time I made Qin Cheng hot in Lishan, his father found out later. After being criticized a lot, he knew that Qin Cheng was Qin Cheng in the capital, the eldest grandson of the family, who dares to mess with this guy. That's pretty much it. As if they knew each other, Lian Yu snorted. Oh, Master Lian, I haven't seen you for a long time. Did you decide the sentence? There was a hint of secret in He Yuanyang's eyes. If it was Lian Yuding, he really didn't dare to it. He Yuanyang's eyes moved to Qin Cheng. He looked pretty good, but he didn't seem to have seen this kind of person in Lancheng. He looked unfamiliar. Out of caution, he still asked, this is it? Upon hearing this, He Yuanyang raised his thick eyebrows and turned around, preparing to get angry. Brother Au, why don't you ask me? We are both white. He Shuotang looks cute, with a round face, and is wearing a white riding suit, like a snow doll. It was Lian Yu who walked out, followed by Qin Cheng. The two of them were dressed in elegant clothes, one in black and one in white. They looked like free knights wielding swords in ancient times, full of chivalry. No, who decided the punishment? He Yuanyang was a little confused now. Master Lian, didn't you say it was your friend who ordered it? Yes, it was my sister Yun who ordered it. What? Lian Yu narrowed his eyes, a little dangerous. He Yuanyang couldn't believe it. He looked at Yunsu again and looked up and down. Is this the thin and frail little girl in front of him? Are you kidding me? He almost laughed out loud. Master Lian, stop joking, let alone Xin Tian, even if it's a normal horse, I don't think this little girl can get on it. The staff member on the side, whose head was about to drop to the ground, said cautiously, it was indeed Miss Yun who made the order. Qing Wei on the side suddenly felt that the scene was extremely familiar. It seemed that it was the same situation last time when he left the mountain. However, it was him who was unlucky last time, and he had a bad feeling in his heart. He winked at He Yuanyang crazily. This was even more unprovoked. He Yuanyang, however, acted as if he hadn't seen it at all and was still talking nonsense. Little girl, there is a pony over there, which is quite suitable for you. Xin Tian, just take a look. I'm afraid you can't even kick it. What do you mean? Do you understand that it's a first come, first served basis? You can withstand his kicks with your rough skin and thick flesh. He Shuotang was the first to get angry and said angrily. Lian Yu's smiling face suddenly fell, and Qin Cheng's eyes also burst into coldness. King Gui closed his eyes weakly. It was over, it was time to get back to work. Yunsu glanced at He Shuotang a little surprised. Yesterday he was so displeased with her, but today he actually helped her speak. He Shuotang snorted awkwardly. Although she still didn't like Yunsu very much, Yunsu helped her and, which was equivalent to helping her. She would not allow anyone to bully her. Yunsu still had a smile on her face, but Qing Wei's heart trembled when she saw it. She had this kind of smile last time. Here we go again. King Gui gave He Yuanyang a look that asked for blessings. He Yuanyang was confused. If it were Lian Yu and Qin Chen next to him, he would still be worried, but with such a little girl, what should he have to be afraid of? I can't do it, but you can. He Yuanyang sneered. I really don't know where she came from such a crazy tone. He Yuanyang, am a relatively well-known person in the Lanchinge horse racing community. How can I be inferior to you? I can let you ride Xin Tian, but that depends on your own abilities. Yunsu raised his head slightly, his eyebrows filled with extreme madness. She ordered the staff to bring Xin Tian out. If the staff were granted amnesty, let them deal with it themselves. He couldn't afford to offend anyone in this group of people. The horse trainer quickly led Xin Tian to the vast outdoor horse farm, with green grass and green grass. Xin Tian snored in a good mood. Other guests on the race course were instantly attracted to their attention, and their eyes widened when they saw it was Xin Tian. Who is this ruthless person who wants to challenge Xin Tian? Who is this? I'm afraid he doesn't know how powerful Xin Tian is. I wish I had a long life. Last time, the Li family was kicked alive and had one of his ribs broken. That can't be blamed on Xin Tian. He wants to drug people and tame them. Horses like Xin Tian are the most humane. If you don't kick him, who will kick him? The people on the race course were talking a lot, and they stopped riding themselves, waiting to watch the excitement. Yunsu and others walked out, and everyone's eyes wandered inside to see who picked Xin Tian. It can't be Master Lian, right? His pinto horse is pretty good too. Why are you suddenly thinking of choosing Xin Tian? Are you blind? The horse behind you is the company commander's horse, not him. The guy next to him, He Yuanyang, Lanchinge is famous for playing horses, and he has been coveting Xin Tian for a long time. I think it's probably him. Those who know it have already guessed it. Sure enough, He Yuanyang walked out of the crowd, holding the reins in the hands of the horse trainer. The horse trainer warned worriedly, He Xiao, you have to be careful. I know, there's so much nonsense. He Yuanyang was impatient. Seeing Xin Tian up close, He Yuanyang's love for him grew even higher. Xin Tian was completely black and his fur was smooth. He looked like he was well taken care of. Being watched by so many people, he was a little impatient. He scratched the ground and exhaled hot air from his nose. You first, Yunsu asked him to try first. She would see how bad Xin Tian's temper was first. Thinking that Yunsu was scared, He Yuanyang smiled contemptuously, passed the reins over the horse's head with his left hand and hung it on the horse's neck, and put down the stirrup with his right hand. He had tried his best not to touch Xin Tian's body, but he still felt that it was getting more and more impatient. Mood. Everyone present stood silently a little further away, and the horse trainer also stood nervously aside, paying attention to Xin Tian's movements at all times. He Yuanyang stood at Xingtian's forelimbs, facing his diagonal rear, tightening the left rein slightly, holding the rein with his left hand, inserting his ring finger between the two reins and grabbing the hair of the bun with the riding whip, with the center of his fist facing down. He turned the stirrup so that it was aligned with him, carefully raised his left foot, stepped into the stirrup, and looked at Xin Tian, although he was impatient, but he still stood calmly and did not move. He Yuanyang felt happy. It seemed that Xin Tian was not that difficult to deal with. He put a little force on his left foot and raised his body upward, about to turn over and get on the horse. Everyone became nervous inexplicably. Could He Yuanyang really successfully challenge Xin Tian today? At this moment, Xin Tian, who felt the gravity, looked up to the sky and neighed angrily, and his horse shook. Not good. Seeing that the situation was not right, He Yuanyang quickly put down his raised right foot and prepared to come down, but it was too late. Xin Tian raised his forelimbs and tilted his body. He Yuanyang's center of gravity was unstable and he fell to the ground. Before he could get up, Xin Tian's horse hoofs were raised high and aimed at him. Ah! He Shuotong screamed. She had never seen such a scene before. Everyone's expressions changed drastically. The horse trainer's pupils shrank and he shouted Xin Tian. End of this chapter. After Rebirth, boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 77. Chapter 77, Horror at the Racecourse. He Yuanyang was so frightened that his face turned pale and he closed his eyes subconsciously. Even the timid guests did not dare to look at him. At this critical moment, a strange melody sounded, not sharp, but clear and melodious. Xin Tian seemed to have pressed the pause button, 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. The tragedy that everyone expected did not happen. Xin Tian put down his horse's hooves in confusion, turned his head, and looked for the source of the sound. Why did it feel that the sound was familiar? Everyone followed Xin Tian and saw a bright and attractive girl in a red outfit. She stared at Xin Tian and hummed that strange tune. It is a strange tune that is not obviously loud, but seems to be playing in people's minds. What tune is this? Why did Xin Tian stop? Lian Yu frowned. Why is this tune similar to the song that Sister Yun sang on her birthday last time? No one expected that Xin Tian, who had been quiet for a while, would take the initiative to walk up to Yun Su, staring at her with his big amber eyes, sniffing lightly, and moving slightly, as if he was identifying the same kind. Then, its head touched Yun Su lightly. Yun Su stopped playing, reached out and stroked the horse's head that Xin Tian had rubbed against, and smoothed its hair. Xin Tian closed his eyes comfortably, looking like he was enjoying it. Everyone was stunned. Xin Tian, who had always had a reputation for being vicious, seemed to have changed into a horse and became so docile. What is this girl blowing? It actually has such great magic power? The horse trainer on the side, who was still frightened, suddenly felt sour and turned into a lemon. Why? He is the one who will take good care of Xingtian tomorrow and tomorrow. He has never been treated like Xingtian. Ha 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 ha. Wait a minute, Yunsu stopped him. Stop talking nonsense and let's get started. He Yuanyang took a deep breath, controlled his anger, led his red rabbit to the starting line, and got on the horse in a textbook standard posture. Is Lu Buletin among men, or red rabbit among horses? Yunsu smiled with unclear meaning. Horses are good, but people. The staff moved quickly and brought out the horse that He Yuanyang kept here. It was also a majestic big horse with a brown body and looked very beautiful. After finally getting out, it snored loudly. King Gui on the side looked at the sky speechlessly. He had an intuition that He Yuanyang now was just like him back then, simply seeking death, but looking at his appearance, he couldn't stop his thoughts. Everyone looked at each other and whispered, "Is He Yuanyang sick?" If you have to compete with a little girl, even if you are disgraced, there is no need to be so reluctant. Just run this lap, whoever comes first will win. He Yuanyang gritted his teeth and looked at Yunsu. If something happens to Yunsu, who will treat her aunt? It's okay. Yunsu looked at He Yuanyang and agreed readily, okay, she originally wanted to run, it was just a lap, it was no big deal. How is it? My horse, Red Rabbit, is no worse than Xingtian. He Yuanyang was still quite proud. He also spent a lot of money to get Red Rabbit. Just run around this circle of the race course. What? Are you afraid of going back on your word? No. Yunsu touched Xingtian lovingly, took off the stirrups and saddle from his horse, and then handed the whip to the stunned horse trainer, leaving only the reins. As long as she agreed, He Yuanyang was afraid that she would regret it, so he immediately said to the horse trainer, "Go and get my horse out." Okay, how little? He Yuanyang refers to the inner circle of the race course. Because the race course is too big, it is divided into several circles. The circle He Yuanyang refers to is 2 kilometers long. Why don't you forget it? He Shutong tugged on Yunsu's sleeves. She still felt scared looking at the docile Xingtian. He must earn back this face today, otherwise how will he be able to hang out in Lanchinge in the future? He didn't believe it. This little girl who looked slim and expensive could have a riding skill comparable to that of him who had been riding horses since elementary school. Xingtian's closeness to her couldn't mean anything. Maybe she just had a better affinity with animals? Yunsu looked at him with a nonchalant tone. How do you want to compare? He Yuanyang looked jealous. He got up in embarrassment, patted the dirt on his body, and shouted, "I don't accept it. If you have the ability, let's compete." Before she finished speaking, everyone thought about it and couldn't hold back their laughter. Lian Yu even burst out laughing. Only Yunsu knows that the tune she plays is a unique communication frequency among horses in the interstellar era that scientists have deciphered. "Miss Yun, this can't be done, it's too dangerous." The horse trainer quickly stopped her. The saddle and stirrups were not only horse riding equipment, but also played a certain protective role. "Since I signed the agreement, I shall be responsible for all consequences." The horse trainer had nothing to say and looked at the company commander and others, hoping that they could help persuade him. "Sister Yun, please don't." Before Lian Yu could finish speaking, Yunsu gave him a hissing gesture. Believe me, He Yuanyang was really enjoying watching it. Should he praise this little girl for her courage? Or do you think she's stupid? King Gui felt suffocated. Sure enough, this woman was a madman and should not be messed with. "Let's go." Yunsu patted Xingtian. Without restraints, Xingtian was even more cheerful. He neighed, as if he understood Yunsu's words, and walked happily to the starting line. Yunsu held the reins. The horse's back was obviously more than half as tall as her. As soon as everyone's eyes were dazzled, she had already climbed onto the horse. The movements are skillful, and everyone's eyes are widened. From the mount, It can be seen that this little girl's equestrian skills are definitely good, and it seems that she is in for a good show. He Yuanyang was also stunned for a moment. He didn't expect that she still had 2 brushes, but so what? He is the only winner today. In the stands next to the race course, 2 people were looking at the side with interest. "This girl is interesting," the man in tang suit said, his eyes full of interest. Both men were ready at the starting line, and both horses were very excited. The competition between 2 people does not need to be very formal, and the horse trainer temporarily acts as a referee. "Get ready." Yunsu tightened his grip on the reins. 1. Yunsu clamped the horse's belly slightly. 2. Yunsu bent down, making an angle of 60 degrees with the horse's back. "Let's go." Yunsu suddenly let out a clear voice, which made people's scalp numb. As if Xing Tian had received an order, he raised his horse's hooves and galloped out instantly, like an arrow off the line. There is almost an after-image. Everyone was stunned. The little girl shouted, "Why did Xing Tian run out? What kind of starting method was this?" He Yuanyang started a little slower, but followed closely. Red Rabbit was indeed a good horse, and it was not far away from Xing Tian. He gritted his teeth and waved his whip again, "Drive." Yunsu didn't have a riding whip, but Xing Tian ran wildly like a perpetual motion machine inside his body, and the distance between him and He Yuanyang was visibly widened. Everyone was so amazed that they couldn't take their eyes off it. The girl was wearing a fiery red riding outfit and riding a horse with calm eyes. She was running wildly on the race course. "This picture is really beautiful. Damn it, Brother Chang, Sister Yun is so good at riding. I shamelessly lectured her before. It's so embarrassing," Lian Yu wailed. "It's okay, it's not your first time." Qin Cheng stabbed him again. "Ah, so handsome," He Shuotong screamed in a drunken tone. "Mom, I don't want to praise her, but she is so handsome riding a horse. I want Susu to teach me how to ride a horse." He Shuotong clenched his fists. Lian Yu was speechless. "Listen, even the title has changed. Women are indeed too elusive. 2,000 meters is too short for a horse race. In the blink of an eye, the race is already halfway through. He Yuanyang is at least 20 or 30 meters behind Yunsu." He Yuanyang clamped the horse's belly tightly and whipped it hard, trying to catch up. However, the short distance of a few dozen meters was like a chasm, out of reach, and the gap continued to widen. "No, this can't go on, he can't lose." He Yuanyang gritted his teeth, with a cruel look in his eyes. He slowly touched the needle in his pocket, took it out, pointed it at the horse's belly, and stabbed it hard. Hiss. Kitu whined, and the next second, he ran like crazy without caring, and instantly narrowed the gap with Yunsu. Yunsu in front frowned when he heard Kitu's cry. What did the idiot behind him do? Why did Red Rabbit suddenly become faster? Everyone watching the show also wondered. Qin Cheng pursed his lips. He seemed to see He Yuanyang taking something out of his pocket. He Yuanyang looked at Yunsu, who was right in front of him, with excitement in his eyes. Is it not that easy to win against him? Yunsu could hear the howling wind and the sound of horse hooves, and he knew He Yuanyang was catching up. The speed of Kitu was getting faster and faster, and He Yuanyang gradually became a little scared. It was too fast. He Yuanyang tried to pull the reins, trying to slow down Kitu. But there was no response. His expression changed suddenly. It was over. Red Rabbit was out of control. The finish line was less than 100 meters ahead. When Red Rabbit passed by Yunsu, she could tell at a glance that something was wrong with Red Rabbit. How could it lose control? The people greeting us at the front were looking forward to it and had no idea what was going on here. He Yuanyang actually caught up. Damn it, Lian Yu screamed angrily. That's wrong. Qin Cheng felt a little uneasy. Kitu's condition seems a bit strange. There were still 50 meters away from the finish line. Yunsu and He Yuanyang were almost going hand in hand. Yunsu looked at the crowd in front of him and thought, this won't work. What did you do? Yunsu shouted and asked. It can't stop. He Yuanyang's face turned pale and he no longer cared about winning or losing. Damn, Yunsu cursed. She made a quick decision and straightened up. Don't move around later, Yunsu asked Xingtian to get closer to Ketu. He Yuanyang was almost frightened. What are you going to do? This sentence is also what the crowd at the finish line wants to ask, what is that little girl doing? The two people in the stands unconsciously clenched their wine glasses. Qinchinj and Lian Yu's pupils shrank, Ketu lost control. Yunsu straightened up and found the opportunity. He released the reins, exerted force on his waist, and moved his upper body closer to Ketu. Give me the reins, Yunsu shouted, and He Yuanyang subconsciously handed it to her. It's now. Yunsu suddenly jumped on the horse and landed on Ketu's back at an incredible angle. Hum, Lian Yu could only say this now. Everyone was stunned. Is this really possible? Ah, Xingtian is coming, everyone looked frightened and fled in all directions. Yunsu let out another clear shout. Xingtian had no one to control him, but he didn't lose control. Instead, his speed slowed down. Everyone just breathed a sigh of relief when they saw Ketu taking another breath. The horse was out of control. Don't move, there was a chill in Yunsu's voice, and He Yuanyang suddenly behaved like a quail. Yunsu sat behind He Yuanyang, holding the reins tightly, and uttered that strange tune again. A strange situation happened. Ketu, who had been out of control, seemed to have regained his consciousness, and his speed slowly slowed down. Yunsu pulled the reins and turned the horse's head sideways. The red rabbit neighed, raised its front hooves high, and slowly stopped. Everyone let out a long breath, and the stones in their hearts suddenly fell to the ground. Yunsu got off his horse, walked up to Xingtian, and touched his head appreciatively, well done. Xingtian raised his neck, as if to say, don't you even look at who I am? End of this chapter. After Rebirth, boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 78. Chapter 78 Lanchinj Gentleman. People in the stands sighed, this little girl is amazing. She has excellent riding skills and extraordinary courage. The person next to him had eyes like distant mountains and was silent. You will not survive if you do something wrong, Yunsu said to He Yuanyang. He Yuanyang, who had been away from for a while, slipped off his horse and collapsed on the ground, unable to recover for a long time. The guests who were watching also pointed at him with angry expressions on their faces. Yunsu said to the horse trainer, check the red rabbit, I suspect it is considered exciting. The horse trainer instantly understood what Yunsu meant, and looked at He Yuanyang with frightened and angry eyes. There were so many people in the race course, how could he dare to do such a thing? Aren't you afraid of hurting someone? The horse trainer did not dare to neglect and reported the matter immediately. Idiot, even you was not in the mood to scold him for such an idiot. King Gui sighed and stepped forward to help him up. I told you not to provoke her, but you didn't listen. Is everything really okay? Qin Cheng was still a little worried. The staff smiled and said, yes, there were many customers who wanted to buy Xingtian before, but because its temper was too strong, no one could control it. In line with the attitude of being responsible to the customers, it was not sold, but now that Miss Yun has tamed it, once you have it, you can naturally buy it and become its owner. I was the one who rode a wild horse before. Xingtian seemed to understand what the staff said, and looked at her with watery eyes, and his long eyelashes flickered, as if Yunsu would not leave until he bought it. Sister Yun, you are so awesome, where did you learn this riding skill? Lian Yu was so frightened that his heart stopped. He was afraid that if something happened to Yunsu, he could just go home and die to apologize. Lian Yu was speechless, and he could still say such casual perfunctory words. Okay, I bought it. Yunsu still took out the card despite the pain. Yunsu's mouth twitched. Although she knew it wouldn't be cheap, the price still made her feel a little sad. Yunsu was a little uncomfortable with her enthusiasm, and patted her shoulders that kept shrugging stiffly. Originally, she said she would buy a car for her father, but now instead of buying a car, she bought a horse first. The staff member was confused and returned the card to Yunsu. It's really okay. Yunsu moved his hands and feet to show them. The cost is about 3 million, of course, not including the cost of foster care with us. The staff smiled gracefully. Okay, Miss Yoon. The staff member smiled brighter, took the card, and was about to take her to go through the formalities. Wait a minute. The horse trainer just ran back panting. Where others can't see, he Shuotong blushed. She is so handsome and gentle. What is this? Yunsu asked, puzzled. Seeing that Lian Yu didn't believe it, Yunsu didn't say much. What she said was actually true. When she first started riding horses, she really rode a wild horse on a remote and desolate planet. Mou was a wild horse she found living in isolation. He Shuotong hugged her fiercely. I'm scared to death. Weevu. She almost thought that Yunsu was about to be buried under the horse's hooves. What about the price? Yunsu also liked it? Yunsu stroked Xingtian's smooth fur again, feeling a little reluctant, and asked the staff next to him, is this horse for sale? Xiao Li, return the card to Miss Yun, he said to the staff member who took the card. The horse trainer said, that's it, Miss Yun, our boss just learned about the previous situation. In order to thank Miss Yun for her timely help and stopping the out-of-control horse, which prevented it from causing a catastrophe, our boss ordered Xin Tian, it is given to you, and it is destined for you. As for He Xiao, our racecourse will no longer allow him to enter and cancel his membership. Yunsu didn't expect that the pie would suddenly fall from the sky, but she still refused. No merit, no reward, I just did what I could do. The horse trainer was anxious. How could he explain it to his superiors like this? Ms Yun, just accept it? Without you, our horse farm would have suffered more losses than this. We must thank you. Take it, Sister Yun, this racecourse has strong financial resources. This horse is really nothing. Lian Yu advised her to accept it. I wonder if it was his misunderstanding. When he said that this horse was nothing, Xin Tian seemed to glanced at him. Is this horse still a spirit? Okay, Yunsu accepted the thank you gift, but, can I meet your boss? I want to express my gratitude in person. Okay, please come this way. The horse trainer may have been ordered before, so he immediately took Yunsu to the building next to the race course. Then let's run for a while and wait for you, Lian Yu and Qin Cheng said. He Jitong looked at Yunsu, then led Xiusi to catch up with Lian Yu. Brother Au, Brother Akin, wait for me. The four-story exquisite building was decorated like a villa. The horse trainer took Yunsu all the way to the top floor and walked to a door. Dong dong dong, the horse trainer knocked on the door. Come in, a man's deep voice came from inside. Boss, Miss Yun is here. The horse trainer took Yunsu in, walked out, and closed the door gently. The man sitting behind the office chair raised his head. Yunsu was stunned. What is this? Do you know me? The man looked to be no more than 20 years old, with eyebrows like distant mountains and green eyes, and eyes like autumn water. It was obviously a word to describe a girl, but it was not inconsistent when it was used on him. He was more beautiful than a woman, but he didn't a hint of femininity. Obviously he is young and strong, but his face is as pale as paper and has a sickly complexion, and his whole body has a sickly temperament. But after saying a word, he coughed a few times. Junwei, who is known as the Gentleman of Lanchinge, is famous. How many people don't know him? Yunsu smiled, not afraid of his probing gaze. Junwei, the heir to the Jun family, the top wealthy family in Lanchinge, has been known as a genius since he was a child. He is as gentle as jade and has the grace of a dragon. Although other wealthy families envy the Jun family to have such an heir, they also feel deeply regretful. God may not be able to see a perfect existence, but such a person who is like an immortal has been tortured by the diseases brought out from his mother's womb. Yunsu remembered that in her last life, Jun Wei passed away when she was in her third year of high school, and the entire city of Lan City still had 2 years to go. A trace of regret flashed in Yunsu's eyes, but Jun Wei didn't miss it. He smiled bitterly. Sure enough, it was this look again. He didn't know how many times he had seen it since he was a child. "Do you mind if I check it out for you?" Yunsu asked, sighing in her heart. In just 2 days, she had already taken the initiative to treat a second person. She was obviously not a kind-hearted person. What? Jun Wei was stunned, not understanding what she meant. Yunsu was helpless. "I said, do you mind if I check your pulse?" Diagnosis of pulse? Jun Wei thought he heard wrongly. "Kid, I don't have time to play house with you." Play house? Yunsu was speechless. "Just think of it as a reward for giving Xin Tian to me. Don't worry, you won't lose." Only then did Jun Wei realize that she was not joking, and she really meant to treat him. "No, thank you." He coughed a few more times, took out a handkerchief and covered his mouth. Bright red and dazzling blood appeared, and Jun Wei put the handkerchief away as if nothing had happened. "Let's go." Jun Wei waved his hand. He just saw Yunsu's performance at the race course. "I'm a little appreciative and curious, and want to see in person what kind of girl she is." Yunsu took 2 steps forward, grabbed his hand with lightning speed, turned it over to expose his wrist, and put 3 fingers on it. Jun Wei couldn't get away for a while. This little girl looked so thin, how could she be so strong? "Okay, look, there will be no missing pieces of meat." Jun Wei gave up struggling and let her look. Yunsu's eyebrows furrowed deeper and deeper. Jun Wei's pulse was very complex, sometimes cheerful, sometimes slow, sometimes as heavy as a drum, sometimes as clear as the wind, making people unpredictable. "You are..." Yunsu thought carefully about her words. She originally thought that Jun Wei was suffering from a deficiency, but now it seems that is not the case. "You are poisoned from your mother's body, right?" Jun Wei tightened his hands instantly and looked at her with sharp eyes. With vigilance, his gentlemanly appearance was instantly torn apart, and he asked one word at a time, "Who are you?" His illness was not an ordinary disease at all, but his mother was kidnapped when she was pregnant with him and was poisoned. The poison invaded the fetus. His mother fought to the death to give birth to him, and the poison broke out and she died. He has been poisoned since he was born. His father searched for famous doctors, but he could only suppress the poison but could not cure it. He also declared that he would not live to be 25 years old. This matter is the biggest secret of their Jun family. No more than 5 people know about it. How could this stranger girl in front of him know? In an instant, countless thoughts flashed through Junmu's ambition. "What are you thinking about? If I want to harm you, why am I telling you this? Are these wealthy families so fond of conspiracy theories?" "Fortunately, the toxicity has not invaded the internal organs," Yunsu said calmly. Jun Wei was interrupted from his thoughts. Hearing such a sentence, he subconsciously asked, "What do you mean?" "I said you still have some treatment," Yunsu told him clearly, one word at a time. "It's just a little troublesome." His situation is not like that of Linju and Tan Kainyin. Although the poison brought from the mother's womb can be cured, it is not easy. One must be prepared for a long-term battle. What to treat? Jun Wei, a smart person, was rarely stupid, as if he didn't understand Yunsu's words. Yunsu was already minding his own business, pulling out a piece of paper on his desk and starting to write a prescription. "I'll give you a prescription first to suppress the toxins, and then I'll write a list and find the medicine on it. These are all very difficult. I'm afraid it will take a lot of effort for you to find it." Yunsu finished writing in a few seconds and handed the paper to him. Take it, it's valuable for me to treat people. You've earned it? Jun Wei took it stupidly. He had become a doctor after a long illness. He knew many of the medicinal materials on it. Wasn't it the medicine that the previous doctor had prescribed for him? Even if others have a chance to know that he is poisoned, they will never know the contents of the prescription. Is this little girl really good at medicine? You mean you can cure the poison on my body? Jun Wei seemed to be waking up from a dream. Yunsu, who was immersed in writing another list, raised his head and looked at her. Have you reacted? It can be treated, but it will be more troublesome even if the poison is detoxified. You may have to continue taking medicine for several years. Jun Wei remained silent after continuing to take medicine for several years. The previous doctor said that he would not live to be 25 years old. He is already 23 this year. According to this little girl, it seems that he can save his life casually. Try to find the medicinal materials on this list as much as possible. If you can't find them, I'll think of a way. Yunsu handed him the second piece of paper. This is a gift in return for giving Xingtian to me. Yunsu regretted a little. She didn't expect Jun Wei's situation to be so complicated. The business seemed to be a loss, but if she said it, she would also throw away the water. Will not take it back. If it can cure my disease, what's a horse? Even if it's the entire race course, I'll give it to you with both hands. Jun Wei looked directly at her, and Yunsu couldn't avoid it. Just why should I trust you? Yunsu looked at him in surprise. Do you still have a choice? The poison in Jun Wei's body is about to invade her internal organs. Is there still time to doubt her? Jun Wei couldn't refute these words. He was silent for a moment and then said, I will find a way to verify it. As long as it can really cure my poison, you can make any conditions. It's up to you. Yunsu stretched, feeling a little tired. I go first. After Yunsu walked out of his office, Jun Wei was still in a daze. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After Rebirth, boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 79. Chapter 79. The Holy Hands of Chinese Medicine. After Yunsu left, Jun Wei, who had recovered his senses, was worried about others. He immediately took the prescription and went to his doctor in person for confirmation, without even having time to tell his family. Sioux City, a typical southern city, has small bridges, flowing water, and bridges painted with smoke and willows, covering the homes 10 miles away. Jun Wei rushed to Sioux City with his assistant and knocked on the door of a house. Xiao Ye, why are you here? The old man who opened the door was startled. He was wearing a coarse cloth gown and looked like an ordinary old man selling goods in the streets. But his eyes were so wise and profound that people dare not underestimate him. Isn't it because the medicine prescribed last time has failed? The old man's face changed as he thought of this possibility, but it didn't look like he was poisoned. No, teacher, I came here to ask you something. Jun Wei has been seeking medical treatment from him since he was a child. The relationship between the two is not only a doctor-patient relationship, but also a master-student relationship. Of course, he is not a doctor. Come in first. A few people entered the door, and the old man gently closed the door. Who would have thought that in this humble house in a small town in the south of the Yangtze River, Ji Sun Kaiu, who is known as the country's best doctor, lives? Jun Wei took a sip, and put down the cup. 3 million, Ji Sun Kaiu was about to jump. The value of this prescription is immeasurable. You used 3 million to defraud someone else of the prescription. Teacher, do you mean this recipe is effective? Jun Wei asked hurriedly. Ji Sun Kaiu is not boasting. Looking at the entire country of China, there are very few people who can surpass him in medical attainments. The next second, his eyes widened to their maximum size, ephedra, gazi, asarum, pediculus, kyanghuo. The long-lost 1,000 gold prescription, do you think it has any effect? No, this one is modified on the basis of the 1,000 gold prescription, and it's even more wonderful. This prescription can completely suppress the poison in your body. Ji Sun Kai felt more and more as he looked at it. This recipe is exquisite. Teacher, please stop making fun of me. Jun Wei was a little anxious. Teacher, you look first. Ji Sun Kai unfolded the prescription and glanced at it. On the ordinary A4 paper, there were 30 or 40 kinds of medicinal materials written in flying handwriting. He looked at Jun Wei and praised it. The handwriting is pretty good, better than yours. Ji Sun Kai sighed, young man, don't be impatient, especially you. Good. The weather was cold, so Ji Sun Kai made a cup of hot tea for his apprentice. Drink some to warm yourself up. Prescription, Ji Sun Kai took it doubtfully. Where did you get the prescription? It was prescribed to me by a doctor. Jun Wei now spoke of Yunsu in a respectful tone. He took out the prescription he carried with him and said, Teacher, can you see if this prescription has any effect on my disease? Doctor, Ji Sun Kai became interested. Who? I don't know that there are doctors in China who can prescribe prescriptions worth thousands of gold. Jun Wei himself felt imaginary when he said it. I gave someone a horse worth 3 million, and she gave it back to me. Great, it turns out she really didn't lie to me. Jun Wei wiped his face and muttered to himself. What are you talking about? How did you find this recipe? Ji Sun Kai rolled his eyes at him. Wonderful, wonderful, really wonderful. Ji Sun Kai's hands were shaking. He kept walking and looked at it carefully. Ji Sun Kai's voice got louder and louder. He stood up with a bang. This, who gave this to you? Is this what I taught you since you were a child? This is too fussy. Ji Sun Kai despised him. You can do this, but I'm embarrassed. No. I didn't know the value of this prescription before. I thought I was cheated. Jun Wei felt aggrieved, although he now felt that he had taken advantage of it. Liar to you. Who would use 1,000 pieces of gold to deceive someone? Then I wish I could be deceived every day. Ji Sun Kai looked at him speechlessly. Okay, I know, I will make it up to her. No, you still haven't told me which doctor it is, Ji Sun Kai reacted. It's not that I didn't tell you, teacher, but I can't believe it myself. Jun Wei said, what happened yesterday was like a dream. What is there that you can't believe? She is a teenage girl, can you believe it? Jun Wei asked his teacher. Teenage? Little girl? Ji Sun Kai was stunned, and the next second, a chestnut hit Jun Wei on the head. Are you kidding me? If a teenage girl can write this recipe, I will fry fish for you in the palm of my hand. It's true. Just yesterday, she came to play at my horse farm. I gave her a horse, and she said she wanted to see if I could get sick. She prescribed this prescription on the spot, saying it could temporarily suppress my toxicity, and he wrote another prescription and asked me to find all the medicinal materials on it. It said it could detoxify, but I didn't believe it as much as you did, so I hurried to find you. Really? I feel like you are making up stories to lie to me. Ji Sun Kai still didn't believe it. Wait, what did you just say? There is also a prescription that she said can cure your poison? Did she really say that? Yes, that's it. Jun Wei took out another list from his bag and handed it to Ji Sun Kai. Can't you give it to me too? Ji Sun Kai took it angrily. He looked at it carefully and said, this. Ji Sun Kai felt a little ashamed. There were actually medicinal materials he didn't recognize on it, and some medicinal materials that were almost impossible to find on the market now. If he didn't have the 1,000 gold prescription, he would definitely. I thought this was scrawled, but now. What exactly did she say? Tell me in detail. Ji Sun Kai sat down again. Jun Wei has an excellent memory, and he clearly remembers everything Yun Su said. She said she can cure my poison, but it's troublesome. Even if I cure the poison, I have to take medicine for several years. Just trouble? Not difficult. Ji Sun Kai has been studying Jun Wei's poison for more than 20 years, but he can only suppress it. Who is this little girl? Who do you study under? Ji Sun Kai thought about it more and more, and couldn't sit still. He turned around and went in to pack his things. Half an hour later, Jun Wei looked at the luggage he had packed and his eyes widened. Teacher, what are you doing? What did you say you were doing? Of course, you are going to see the doctor you mentioned to see if he can really cure your poison. If so, I will worship her as my teacher in a short period of time. Ji Sun Kai has already thought about it. Jun Wei couldn't laugh or cry. Teacher, if you worship her as your teacher, wouldn't I want to call a teenage girl my master? Let's discuss our own things. Ji Sun Kai glared at him. Besides, a master is a teacher, no matter how old you are. How did I teach you? But, teacher, didn't you come to the city specifically to practice cultivation? Are you leaving now? Jun Wei asked. It's all worth it. How could he still sit still when he had already paid a fortune? Teacher, you just told me not to be angry. Jun Wei was less anxious after receiving Ji Sun Kai's confirmed reply, and blocked him with what he had just said. Stop talking nonsense, I'm going to lock the door. Ji Sun Kai was very anxious and urged Jun Wei to leave quickly. The Chinese medical masters over there were alarmed, but Yun Su had no idea. She just went through the formalities excitedly and received her horse. Xin Tian, you have to stay here obediently. I will come and see you when I have time. After thinking about it, Yun Su made a promise to him. I promise you, I will definitely change to a big house later, with a race course. Take you over. Xin Tian rubbed her hand. Okay. She already had a horse worth several million, so it was unreasonable not to buy a car for her father. Yun Su persuaded Yun Daejin to persuade her. The father and daughter came to the Ford's store. Yun Su chose a car from a mid-priced brand. Yun Daejin's main purpose was to travel and sometimes bring some ingredients needed in the store. Hello. How can I help you? The car sales lady at the Ford's store came up and asked with a sweet smile. The two car sales ladies behind him whispered, is the kid crazy? The father and daughter don't look like they can afford a car. Is it because she didn't sell a single car this month that she went to the hospital in a hurry? Ha ha ha, maybe. The child's smile was a little stiff, apparently because he heard the comments from his colleagues. I want to see a more spacious model, Yun Su said to her. Okay, please come with me. The boy straightened his expression and led Yun Su and his daughter to the side. Hello, miss, this car is an SUV that our brand mainly promotes. It has 7 seats. It is relatively large and the space inside is very spacious, but the car does not look bloated. The appearance is also very beautiful and streamlined. What about the fuel consumption? It's not high, and it's enough for daily transportation. We also have discounts, which is very cost-effective. Xiao Tong introduced Yun Su carefully. It looks okay, Dad, you can get in the car and try it, Yun Su said to her dad. I haven't driven a car for a long time. Yun Daejin was a little nervous. It's okay, sir. Since you want to buy a car, you must first try the feel of the car to see if it fits properly. You must also feel comfortable driving it, Xiao Tong also advised Yun Daejin. Alright. Yun Daejin got into the cab and slowly started to explore under the child's patient explanation. It's so funny, that uncle can't even drive, yet he's still here to watch. The two car sales ladies who were just talking passed by and laughed when they saw Yun Daejin stumbling to touch various buttons and switches on the car. One of them rolled his eyes and said loudly, Kid, you have to be careful when you take guests to test the car. Don't damage the car by improper operation, we can't explain it. The other covered his mouth and laughed. What's the matter with you? Noisy, Yunsu glanced impatiently with a sharp look. The two of them curled their lips, said nothing, and walked away. Dad, what do you think? Is it suitable? Yunsu asked her dad about his experience with the test drive. It's okay. Yoon Daejin touched the steering wheel, obviously liking it. Yunsu asked directly about the price. How much does the high-end version of this car cost? All the expenses add up. The child was stunned for a moment. Don't you want to look at anything else? That's it? Okay. The kid quickly took out his computer and told Yunsu about the various costs. The price of high-end configurations of this car is 458,000. Now we have a discount, so it's 413,000, plus after including insurance, vehicle purchase tax, etc., the total price is 435,000. Do you think this price is appropriate? She asked cautiously, or you can look at other models. We also have a SUV that is also good and has a relatively high cost performance. That's it, swipe the card. Yunsu interrupted, holding the bank card between her index and middle fingers and giving it to her. She didn't bother to look at it. She almost bought a horse worth 3 million yuan, so why did she hesitate to buy a car for her father? Okay, the child was ecstatic, quickly took the bank card and went to the front desk to complete the procedures. She actually said it was sold. How is this possible? The two car sales ladies who watched the child walking to the front desk with the card were shocked. The father and daughter looked so ordinary in their clothes, but they spent so much money. If I had known earlier, they would have gone to receive them. The two of them were sulking, and it showed on their faces. Customers who were originally willing to buy a car lost interest instantly when they saw their faces. Where can I buy a car without buying it? He even had to show off his face here. The guest was speechless and left in a hurry. Please take your keys and procedures. It took a while to complete all the procedures. The child handed the things to Yoon Daejin. Okay, thanks. Yoon Daejin drove home from the Ford store cautiously. End of this chapter. After Rebirth, Boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 80. Chapter 80. The golden needle passes through the acupuncture point. Father and daughter had just driven their car back to Zilu. Yoon Daejin went to park the car in the underground garage. Yunsu saw a familiar figure downstairs. Young Master Jun, you really have great supernatural powers. You found me so quickly. Are you waiting for me here this afternoon? Yoon Suda asked interestingly. Who is that tall, delicate-looking, inhumanly beautiful person leaning against the car? Not Jun Wei. He has been waiting here for Yunsu for almost 2 hours, and he finally arrived. He coughed a few times and took a deep breath. Dr. Yoon, I have offended you a lot before, and it's all my fault. I sincerely want to ask you to save me. Your family will be rewarded generously. He found someone to verify the prescription so quickly? Yunsu was a little curious. Who was it that had been trying to suppress the toxins in Jun Wei's body? Wait for me for a while. Yunsu didn't refuse. Better waiting. Yunsu went upstairs first and told her father that she had something to do before going out. Yoon Daejin let her go with confidence. Let's go, the weather is too cold. Although the new year has started and the temperature has risen, it is still cold for Yunsu. Yunsu got into Jun Wei's car. Jun Wei asked the driver to turn up the heating in the car, and Yunsu spread his eyebrows comfortably. He immediately frightened Jun Tainji. He knew that Mr. G had found a house in Linkhung to live in peace and would not leave easily. He followed Jun Wei back. He thought that there was another problem with Muye's health. Don't worry, no one can take away the people I want to save. Yunsu has the capital to be arrogant. There is nothing that cannot be said, and we will see him later anyway. If he hadn't been afraid that Ji Sunkai would scare Yunsu if he came with him, he would have come with him long ago. The two were speechless for a moment, but Jun Wei tried hard to find something to say. Dr. Yun's riding skills are really amazing. When he said this, he smiled very touchingly. Yes, that's the word, touching. Yunsu could only find this word to describe it. Junwei was silent for a moment and then said, "It's just because I can't do it that I yearn for it. When I was young, I watched horse racing on TV and really wanted to be a professional horse racing player. But later I realized that in my life, I couldn't ride a horse and run wildly like others. I only sat on a horse once, and I've never forgotten that feeling. Who would have thought? In just one day, it found its owner, and I also found a good medicine to cure me. It and I have similar fates. It seems that bringing it back is the most correct decision I have ever made." Speaking of this, Yunsu also wanted to ask him a question: why do you want to open a horse farm if you are not in good health to ride a horse? I saw many horses in the stable, all of which are rare breeds. They must have been carefully selected. Yes, is it a hobby? Yunsu also laughed. When the Lanchange gentleman passed away, countless people sighed. She had only seen the news in the news. She deeply felt sorry for this magnificent man. She never thought that after going round and round, now she would rescue him personally. "This is Mr. Ji Sun Kaiu, he is also my teacher." How could Jun Tamshi calm down? Yesterday, his son hurried to Linkhung to find Ji Lao, and then in the middle of the night, Ji Lao came back with him. The car speeded all the way and drove into the Jun family. Jun Wei's father and the current head of the Jun family, Jun Tamshi and Ji Sun Kai, were drinking tea and chatting in the living room. However, both of them had nothing to do with each other, and they were distracted and looked away from time to time. Outside the door. Later, I opened a horse farm, and when I had nothing to do, I would watch other people ride horses. I have never experienced the feeling of galloping horses, but my soul has danced with it countless times. Jun Wei recalled the information about Yunsu. Where did a girl who grew up in a remote mountain village learn to ride a horse? There was also this strange and unpredictable medical skill, but Jun Wei didn't ask any further questions. Unexpectedly, the two of them brought him great news. Muya actually told him that he had found a doctor who could detoxify him, and the doctor's prescription was approved by Mr. Ji, so the two of them hurriedly rushed back. That day, the movements of riding the horse, changing the horse, and rescuing the horse were all done smoothly and smoothly. Courage and wisdom were indispensable. He was simply amazed in the stands at that time. Xingtian is a horse that I admired abroad. It has a fierce temper and no one can tame it. I brought it back. When I looked at it, it seemed that it didn't look like myself who surrendered to my fate. Fortunately, I studied for a while, Yunsu replied casually. Which doctor treated you before? Can you tell me? Yunsu asked. Yunsu didn't know many famous contemporary doctors, but she knew Ji Sun Kai's name. He was a doctor who had treated big leaders. Yunsu was surprised that the Jun family, indeed a wealthy family, could hire Ji Sun Kai, the national expert sage doctor. Jun Tangzi almost lost his temper when he heard his son say that the doctor was only given a horse worth 3 million yuan. Is this how you treat other doctors? Jun Tangshi said the same thing as Ji Sun Kai. I didn't believe it at the time. Jun Wei felt a little embarrassed when he recalled it. Hun Tangshi didn't care about his son's frailty and slapped him. As long as the doctor can save you, we will give it a try no matter what. So what if we are cheated? It's just a small amount of money. If you really offend the miracle doctor, I don't think you have anywhere to cry. Then Jun Tamshi rushed Jun Wei to pick up Yunsu, causing Jun Tamshi to have no idea that the doctor his son said could detoxify was a teenage girl. Jun Wei took Yunsu through the door. Jun Tang was stunned for a moment. It looked like there was no one behind Jun Wei. Where's the doctor I asked you to pick up? Jun Wei knew his father would say this. Isn't this it? He pointed at Yunsu and said. What? Is it this little girl? Jun Tamshi was dumbfounded. How old is this girl? He thought he was a friend brought back by his son. Are you kidding me? You're not kidding, Dad. I had the same expression as you at the time, so you know why I didn't believe it, right? Jun Wei was helpless. Jun Tang's knowledge is dull. Indeed, who would have thought that this little girl is a doctor? It is still the kind that can cure diseases that even the masters of traditional Chinese medicine cannot. He suddenly looked familiar to Yun Su. Are you from that family? There are so many words, please get out of the way. Ji Sun Kai was already impatient. He brushed aside Hun Tangshi and kept talking non-stop. Girl, did you really write that piece of gold prescription? Ji Sun Kai stroked his beard, his eyes searching. It's me. Yun Su met his eyes. This must be Ji Sun Kai, the master of Chinese medicine. His eyes are bright. For a doctor, looking at his eyes is like caring. Ji Sun Kai admired in his heart. He looks like a child with a clear mind. He pulled Yun Su to sit down. Come on, girl, tell me carefully why the dosage of this Qinjin prescription needs to be increased while this one needs to be reduced. And this place, you sit down and slowly say, Xiao, hurry up and get a cup of tea. Ji Sun Kai called Jun Wei unceremoniously. Jun Wei and his father looked at each other. Who on earth was treating the doctor? There was no other way. Jun Wei could only accept his fate and make tea, then sit on the sofa and wait for the two people to finish speaking. The medicinal properties of Qianghuo. Yun Su didn't hide his secrets, and told Ji Sun Kai one after another. Ji Sun Kai nodded from time to time, as if he was enlightened. His level was almost as good as Yun Su's. So that's it. What about here? Ji Sun Kai took out the second list and asked about the unfamiliar medicinal materials on it. This is. One of them is willing to learn and the other is willing to teach, and they feel somewhat like a teacher and a student. Jun Wei started thinking wildly. Jun Tamshi stared at Yun Su. The more he looked, the more familiar he felt. He began to recall where he had seen Yun Su. Wait, isn't this the daughter that the Yun family brought back some time ago? Hun Tangshi finally remembered. He looked at Jun Wei. Jun Wei knew that his father recognized Yun Su, so he nodded. To be honest, he didn't believe that Yun Su was actually the daughter of the two Yun families, and he also found out that Yun Su had left the Yun family and was still living with her adoptive father and younger brother. Yun Tu really lost the watermelon and picked up the sesame seeds. I wonder how he would feel if he knew what Yun Su was capable of. 20 minutes later, Yun Su and Ji Sun Kai finally finished speaking. Hun Tangshi found his way to interject, Girl Yun, I won't call you doctor anymore. You seem too naive. I asked you to call yourself uncle. I was in the Yun family before I saw you at the banquet, and I didn't expect you to be such a talented young man. Thank you, Uncle Jun. I have nothing to do with the Yun family now. What Jun Tamshi wants to say is stuck in his throat. He is busy with work and has no time to pay attention to the gossip of these wealthy families. Now that he knows this, he wonders if there is something wrong with Yun Tu's brain. He actually doesn't want such a daughter. At this moment, Jun Tamshi and Jun Wei's ideas coincided with each other. Okay, let's not talk about this. Uncle just wants to ask you, are you really able to detoxify our Mu yet? Jun Tamshi asked cautiously with expectant eyes. Yes, although it will take a long time, and you will need to continue taking medicine for a long time after the poison is cleared. Yun Su slowly explained that the poison in Jun Wei's body has been there for a long time, so he must take his time and clear it bit by bit, otherwise Jun Wei's body couldn't bear it. It's good if you can solve it. It doesn't matter if it takes a long time as long as there is hope. After receiving the affirmative answer, Jun Tamshi was overjoyed. He was not afraid of the long time, but of running out of time. Ji Sun Kai once said that Jun Wei would probably not live to be 25 years old. As the year approached, Jun Tamshi felt heavy in his heart. He was afraid of the coming of time and could not sleep all night long, turning himself into a patient. In addition to drug treatment, I also need to give him injections to seal the toxins in his body and prevent them from spreading. Acupuncture, Ji Sun Kai almost dropped the teacup. How to apply it? The golden needle passes through the acupuncture point. Yunsu spit out 4 words. The golden needle passed through the acupuncture point. Ji Sun Kai couldn't hold himself any longer and cried out. Huntang didn't understand and asked, "What's the matter, Mr. Ji? Is this difficult? You ask me if it's difficult. You can tell." Ji Sun Kai looked at him as if he were a fool. Acupuncture techniques that have been lost for hundreds of years, do you think it's difficult? Really? What should we do? Do we need needles? I'll find someone to do it. Jun Taingshi panicked when he heard the words lost for hundreds of years. No, I have it here. Yunsu opened the bag she carried with her, and it contained the golden needles she had just gone upstairs to get. End of this chapter.